On today's show, we're going to be talking about how you can implement 3 simple strategies to promote your online obits, which will in turn improve your Google rankings, get more traffic to your website, even get more condolences, more social media engagement, increase online floral sales, and even get more people to attend the funerals that you host.
Welcome to Strategy Talks by Funeral Results Marketing, where funeral professionals discover the latest marketing strategies that get results. Now join Robin Heppel and Brian Young as they share their insights and experiences to help you and your firm during these ever-changing times in the funeral profession.
Welcome to another episode of Strategy Talks by Funeral Results Marketing. Before we get into today's topic, I wanted to let you know to stick around to the end of the show, where you can get templates for these 3 promotional strategies that Rob is going to share with us today. So let's get into today's topic.
Sure, Brian. The reason why we're talking about this is from in the marketing, in online marketing, people are always saying you need to get content out there, and you'll hear terms like content is king, and Google really loves content. And if you were to go to your local Rotary Club luncheon or Chamber of Commerce and rubbing shoulders with other local business owners, and they're talking about an online marketing strategy or content marketing strategy, they're going to be telling you that you got to create these blog posts and you got to write them, and this is not probably what business owners signed up for. And you as the funeral home owner or funeral manager can kind of just sit back and chuckle because unlike every other local business, you have free content in your lap that you need to put on your website anyway in the form of online obituaries. So by taking these pieces of content that need to get out there, and by just following a simple process, you can actually help benefit your website by getting more traffic, which in turn, more traffic, more engagement is going to help in your Google rankings. Also, you'll be able to increase your social media engagement by basically getting the family to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And the great thing is they're not going to see this as a burden at all. So before you spend any money on search engine optimization from a third party, or even paying a third party for social media marketing, paying, hundreds or even, $1,000 or more a month, make sure you're doing these strategies that you can do for free and will probably take no more than 5 minutes per call. And you're going to then reap all the benefits that we've already talked about.
So what's the background story on that? What can you tell me about this?
Well, sure, Brian. So in around 2006, when I really started to launch Funeral Futurist, and I was blogging because I knew that I needed to establish myself as an authority in the market, and by adding new content such as videos and blog posts. And one thing that I noticed when I was doing this with the setup that I had, I was using at that time WordPress, which is a content management system, and still use that today. Plus, all of the funeral home websites and cremation arrangement websites that we build are on the WordPress content management system. And what I noticed was that my articles were, well, the first thing that I noticed was that my Google alerts would go off maybe in 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe even an hour after I put up a new article. I'm like, wow, like Google's finding this, within 20 minutes of me uploading this. And I'm always trying to connect the dots and thinking, well, how can this apply to the funeral homes? And so with our first website clients, I would run these experiments. I'd tell them, I'd say, hey, let me know when you're going to put an obit up, and let's see how quickly we can find it in Google, because we'll do a search for it immediately before we post it. So there's, for Robin Heppel obituary, it's not going to be there. Now when that obituary goes up online, it's going to be there, and let's see how long it takes for Google to find it and put it in its results. And we could always get get them found within an hour. Usually, though, I think I think one of the fastest ones was like 28 minutes. And I'd always had been a student of search engine optimization, before that. And so my my arguments were, or my position was to our clients was, hey, the sooner you get this out in online, the sooner people can find it. And when we started doing this, the neat thing that we found was with Google Analytics installed in the background, is that people were actually searching for those obituaries right away. As soon as someone hears that someone dies, they're going to start searching for Robin Heppel funeral, Robin Heppel obituary. And now when you're not putting your obits up right away, or if they're not Google friendly, you're not going to see those hits through your Google Analytics. But once we saw this was, hey, this is great. And then I started to think, well, how can we, we need to kind of refine this, but we were just making sure that, the funeral homes were getting this up, as soon as possible. And then, there's, third-party companies such as legacy.com who host, more obits than anyone else. And they would start to outrank for our funeral homes, the funeral home, which was the original copy of that obituary. And so we tried to put together a little bit of a process to make it so that the funeral home's obit would rank as high as possible. Now, sometimes, legacy is just so huge that, and Google loves websites with authority. We're just a small little drop in the bucket compared to the footprint that legacy has. But by following some steps that I'm going to share with you here in a moment, we were able to at least maintain sometimes the first position. It may drop down for a little while, but then it would, since legacy is always churning new content, those obits would then come back to the top. And so what I was thinking was and the way it worked then was legacy would only put the obituary on the website kind of the day of it would go in the newspaper. So this was great. This gave funeral homes a head start because Google likes original content, and they like to know who the originator of that content was. So if it was a Tuesday and you uploaded the obituary Tuesday afternoon, and then it wasn't going to be in the newspaper until Thursday, that gave you a couple days to get ahead of it going on to legacy. But if nothing's going on with that obituary, if it's just laying there dormant, Google's going to think that, well, sure, maybe that's there a little bit early, but no one's going to that site. So I thought, well, the best thing that we could do is let's get the family to send an email to the. We'll send an email to the family, and then the family will send an email to all the people they know because they need to get the word out. And what this will do then is it'll turn those people and drive them right back to your website, getting, Google's going to see that, that now that obituary post is being engaged with, people are leaving condolences, maybe they're sharing it, on social media. So that was the first step, because we needed there to be some signals that, hey, this not only is this, this website or this post is up already, but people are interacting with it. So then, this would have been probably 5 years ago or so, or a bit more. And my dad died, and I was, at the funeral home, down at McCall Brothers, in Victoria. And Dave McCall, I'd gone in for some, we're just making, working on some details of the arrangements. And I was sitting in the foyer of the funeral home, and Dave came out and just asked me how he was doing. And he said, "Hey, Rob, I know that you're known throughout the funeral industry. Would you like us to send your dad's obituary to the different associations that that we belong to as a funeral home, and that maybe that you've spoken to?" And I thought, "Oh, Dave, gee, that's that's a great idea and a nice gesture. Sure, that'd be great." And with a lot of things, my brain kind of takes it and thinks, you know what, that might be just a good thing to do for everyone. So what we started doing then was incorporating the phase 2, which would be to send an email to the church or any other groups that the person belonged to with the same with a similar message. And then what you're getting is those groups to then promote it to their membership and getting people to then come back to the funeral home's website. And it's really important that it gets, that the traffic comes back to the funeral home website, because if you don't kind of take a little bit of control of this, sometimes the families may get a hold of that legacy obituary and share that instead of sharing the obituary from your site. And we've seen on a couple of occasions, sometimes, you have those viral obits that are, just really written well and witty and, somewhat humorous. And, they've even been, on national news stations, TV stations, read it. And it seems that, yes, the times that I've been involved, I'm like, how come you didn't tell the family to share your obit instead of the one on the newspaper's website? So then we thought, well, let's also get and I know lots of funeral homes, they want to put the obituary on their Facebook page. Now, when people ask me if they should share obits on their Facebook page, my answer is, well, it depends. If you're not doing anything on your Facebook page at all, that wouldn't hurt to put it there. You're not going to get a lot of likes, but at least, there's some content there. If anyone ever went there, they could see, that, at least they're promoting the obituaries on their site. Now, if you're really active on your Facebook page for your funeral home, and you're sharing other things, and you're creating, a little bit of communications and things like that, I would actually shy away from sharing it on your page, because if you don't want those people who are engaged to then become disengaged, because in reality, unless you live like in a small town, they're not going to know the majority of the people that you're sharing that obituary with. So even if you had 1,000 likes on your page, maybe 5%, maybe 10% of the people that have liked your page may know that individual. But if you could get the family to share the link to your website on their profile, their personal profile, and Facebook has told us that, people have on average 130 to 150 friends on Facebook. Well, when I share my dad's obituary on my Facebook profile, probably 95%, 100% of the people would be at least interested to know that my dad died, and maybe follow up with looking at the balance of the obituary, or at least to know that information happened, or that happened, and where they could get the information. So I always say, if you want to get the most out of Facebook and not even have a Facebook fan page, you just do this strategy. And now we see that some of our clients actually get 50% of their traffic from Facebook by using these strategies. So that's kind of the overview of that, Brian.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I think I'm most surprised by just how large a volume of visitors the website can get. So how about you talk about that a little bit more in terms of the recipe? I mean, how do you go about making this happen?
Sure. Well, there's it's a 3-step process. And so as I said, there is we send an email, and you can send this email to the family, I say, as soon as that obit is approved. Some funeral homes get it approved right there at the funeral home in the arrangements. Maybe they want to go back and maybe you're waiting on some information. But the most important thing is to get that as soon as it's approved, get it up on your website. So once the obit's approved, send out this email, and you can, hopefully you're asking for the family's email addresses. And if you have multiple email addresses from the family members in the arrangement conference, then send it to everyone that you have. And don't worry about, I think sometimes we think, oh, well, I don't want them to think we're going to spam them. Hey, they're entrusting your funeral home with the care of their loved one. So I'm sure, they're not going to be skeptical about looking, of why you've asked for their email address. And, as Brian said, we'll make sure that you get, the templates of all these emails, because I've worked hard to really fine tune these to have them, written in a manner where, we're giving them as much information as they need to kind of get the job done, but without too much information. And so what I'm going to do now is give you the copy of the email and then the instructions. So, the first one, number one, after arrangement email sent immediately to the family once the obit is approved. So the subject line is obituary for first name, last name. Then in the body, dear family member, I have uploaded your dad's obituary notice to our website at www.yourfuneralchapel.com/John-Doe. Feel free to forward this link to friends and family, as we have found that it is an easy way to let a lot of people know about service times, especially on such short notice. Let me know if you need help with anything else. Sincerely, Funeral Director. Now, a couple things about this. We put the direct link to the obituary. We don't want to put them onto the homepage. We don't want to put them onto the obituary page for them to then have to make an extra click or find it. And sometimes busy funeral homes, there might be 3 or 4 new ones ahead of that. So we want to make them special, send them right there. The other thing is, you don't want, if you have to communicate with the family for any other reason, make that a separate email. You don't want to put PS, we're embalming your dad this afternoon, so make sure you bring in his dentures. I think that information can be left to a different email, because the purpose of this very succinct email is for them to open it up, look at it, hit forward, and then select everyone in their contacts in their email program. Now, the second email is to churches and groups, and it's to be sent immediately after the email sent to the family. The subject is obituary for first name, last name, dear church or group name. We're sorry to advise you that your member, deceased name, has passed away or died, and his or her family has asked us to let you and the membership know of Mr. or Mrs. Deceased name upcoming funeral services. The complete obituary and service details can be found on our website at www.yourfuneralchapel.com/John-Doe. Feel free to forward this email and link to your membership, as we have found that it's an easy way to let a lot of people know about the service times, especially on such short notice. Let me know if you have any questions with anything else. Sincerely, the Funeral Director. Now, again, this is very succinct. We want to use the direct link to the obit, and we don't want to include, now, some people might think, oh, well, why don't we just put the service information in the email? Or why don't we just paste the entire obit in the email? Well, that is going to, sure, they're going to get the information, but they're not going to then want to go to your website. And the great thing about these 2 emails is that you've had the family and the church or any other groups indirectly promote your website And those people that have received that email are probably the single group that is most likely to purchase flowers or leave condolences. So, because they're the ones that have the closest contact. So it's very important to get this out as quickly as you can. Now, the third part is then showing the family how to add the obit to their Facebook page. And I've seen families either give a demonstration right there at the funeral home with their cell phone, even showing them how to go onto the website, find the obituary, click the it's best. This is important. It's best to copy the link to the obit than to use the sharing icons. Now, sure, you can use the sharing icons, and it will help share that on, that obit onto their Facebook profile. But if you copy the link and then go to Facebook and paste it in, the ability that you have by doing that is that then you can tag other people in your area where you're adding the information. So you could, so in my circumstance, I would be able to tag my mom and my sister and any other relatives that were also mentioned in the obituary, because then that's going to show up on their profiles for the people who they're connected with. And this is very simple. So there's just 5 steps. Go to where the obituary is. You copy the URL in the address bar. And then log into Facebook, and wherever it says, update or share or post, paste in the link. You can then select which photo that you want, and add a little line, and then click share or click post, and that's it. Then that will go directly to all the people that family member is associated to. And again, we've seen, some funeral homes are now getting 50% of their traffic to their website through Facebook, and particularly Facebook mobile. So people are sharing it, and they're seeing it, and they're getting that information as quickly as possible. So those are the, those are the 3 steps, and try not to shortcut them. Some people have tried to combine them, and then you kind of lose the effect. So I'm all about efficiency and effectiveness. And so I've tried to make this as simple as possible, but also as effective as possible. And again, it's taken me 15 minutes to explain it, but it's, this can all be done in under 5 minutes.
Huh. That seems like a really easy way to get a big benefit for your website and your brand visibility. Can you tell us about some of the actions your clients have taken, and what kind of results they've experienced from doing this?
Yeah, sure. Well, one, John McQueen from Anderson McQueen in Florida, he said that once he had their staff doing these 3 steps, that they saw an immediate and continual 25% increase in online floral sales. Not that, and let me specify, not that it's continually to increase, but say if it was a factor of 100, then now that factor is 125, and it continues on. So there is, they're benefiting from that just by putting that into their process. We've had the John Funeral Home, Ross DeJohn and his firm really do the Facebook part well, and get a lot of direct traffic from that, as well as Dave Parado from Bartolomeo Funeral Home actually shows people how to do that with their cell phones right in there, right at the funeral home, and showing that. One thing though, make sure if you're with people with their cell phones, and if they're doing this on a mobile version, you want to make sure that your website and your obits are mobile friendly. Some funeral home website companies, if you share the link, and then someone goes to open it, it may not open because it's trying to force the mobile version of the website to open. That for our websites, that doesn't happen. We use mobile responsive websites. So that means that no matter on what device, it's the same page showing up. But I really believe that if people do this, they're going to, see more engagement, more condolences. Dr. Earl Groman says, grief shared is grief diminished. So the more condolences that come in, that's going to help the family. And it's just going to have a better community feel for that. And again, if you've been in the practice of sharing the obit on your Facebook page, that's fine. But you're going to see a huge benefit by getting the family to share it on their Facebook profile because their audience is much more interested in that single obit than your audience on your page. And speaking of Facebook and putting it on your Facebook page, the funeral home's Facebook page, I heard this information and I couldn't believe it at a conference, and they said, and it would be a good idea to boost, to actually pay to promote obituaries on your Facebook page. Save your money. That's just crazy talk. There's no benefit for you to boost that at all. That's just throwing money. You're not promoting something that's going to directly impact your business. And usually it's $65 is the kind of the initial budget for boosting a post. So that money could be spent way better, creating a Facebook campaign to for pre-need leads or something like that. So never spend money to promote your obits. And while we're on that, just one last thing: if you have Google Adwords, make sure the word obit, obituaries, death notices, that those are all negative keywords. You don't want to be paying for people searching for obituaries at your funeral home for your ad to show up and then them click on the ad. So, never have obituaries, or even in the site links of your ads, let people find that for free. And if you follow these 3 steps, they'll be finding your obits very easily. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I guess a pretty big nutshell, Brian. But this is one strategy. When I hear funeral homes think, I'm supposed to be doing social media marketing. I'm supposed to be doing content marketing. And I say, hey, if you're not doing these 3 steps first, do that first. Look at the results. It's not going to cost you. If you go into one of those other strategies, that's going to take you way more time than this. Do this first, see how it goes. And then if you still need to do other things, then go ahead. But I think that you're going to be, pleasantly surprised, and people who have done this easily double their traffic to their website.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to me. And I don't know who wouldn't want that. It's the cheapest brand exposure anybody can get, as we've talked about in the past. So those are all really helpful tips and insights there, Rob. So I've got one more question for you, Rob. I know there's cases where a family doesn't want to have an obituary. They don't want to pay for one for the newspaper. They're not necessarily interested in one for the website. What's your thoughts on that? Should a funeral home still put up some kind of an obituary? Is it advantageous? What should we know about that?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think that you should let them know that it's free to put on your website. I really think that it's important to offer that because of the benefit of all these benefits that you can get by getting them to promote the obituary. So, first of all, hopefully that they'll just agree, even if they don't want to put it in the newspaper, that you will, that they can do it for your website, the funeral home's website. And if they really don't want that, you could then offer to put in a death notice where it just has some basic particulars, but you want to make sure that you get the family's approval for that. Just say, well, you know what, if you don't want to write an obituary, that's fine. We can put, if you don't mind, we'll just put a draft, or we'll just make a very simple, what we would call a death notice, and it will just have basic particulars. But, we don't need to put in your mom's birth date, and it'll just have, the very basic information. But again, to get approval from that, I wouldn't put something in if the family said they didn't want to have an obituary online. Then don't push that. One thing that we found that has helped with with our clients is we also give the functionality to have families submit their own obituary. So there's a little online form on the website. The family can be directed there by the funeral home, and then when they have the time, they then fill out the form. And in the background, what happens is it's actually making a draft obituary post already. The funeral home they'll get notified once it's submitted. They can review it and then upload it, and then follow through with the steps that we've just talked about. So that's how I would cover that. And I think for you listening, just to give this a try, like take our challenge. Just try this for even step one, the email to the family, and try it for 2 weeks. And now, when I was a funeral director, our environment, we were very competitive amongst each other, the other funeral directors. And so, I would do this often for little things like who gets the most compliments in they had this night book. So when people would come in to view the deceased, who got the most compliments, who got the most positive survey returns, and here this would just be another one. So if you're aspiring funeral director yourself, take this on and do this. Send that email to the family. You're not. I don't think you'd be jeopardizing any policies by communicating to the family, letting them know that the obit is now on the website. And do it for a couple of weeks, and then compare your obits to the obits of the other funeral directors, and I'm sure you're going to have more online condolences. And if you do, this would be then a great proof of concept that you could take to the management and say, hey, look, I've been doing this this email the family the obit, and we're getting more condolences. Maybe we're even getting more online floral sales. So maybe then they might implement that company wide. So the challenge is do step one, email to the family, do it for the next 2 weeks, and to see if you can get more condolences than the other funeral directors that you're working with.
Well, thanks, Rob. And that brings us almost to the end of the show. As we get close to wrapping up here, I'll ask once again, what's your burning question about online marketing for your funeral home? If you will leave it here for us, we will try to answer it on an upcoming episode. And if you like what you're hearing, please leave a comment on the blog or give it a rating on iTunes or Google Play.
And thank you for spending your time with us today. Our goal is for you to serve more families and provide them more meaningful services. So make sure you check back soon for another episode of Strategy Talks by Funeral Results Marketing. Until the next episode, this has been Brian Young and Robin Heppel.
This has been another episode of Strategy Talks with Robin Heppel and Brian Young. To ask a question or leave a comment, visit funeralresultsmarketing.com/talks. To make sure that you never miss an episode, you can subscribe to this podcast for free on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.